Daily video and podcast series of Business of Cannabis. BFC Live highlights the company's brands, people, and trends driving the global cannabis sector. Learn more at businessofcannabis.ca. Our BFC Live guest today is Larry Lisser, the CEO of HelloMD. We wanted to connect with him about the telehealth platform and how people are accessing medical cannabis today and how that differs from pre-COVID. Larry Lisser, thank you for being on BFC Live.
Good to see you as always, Jay.
Nice to see you. You, of course, are the CEO of HelloMD. You've been on BFC Live before. We've done events with you. You are Canadian by birth and by spirit, but reside in Denver for the time being. So we can get you back here.
I have been back there. I have followed all the rules every time that I've went.
Good.
But for the moment, I think I'll be here for some time, but it's good to see you again.
Well, you're always as welcome as the border allows.
My favorite part about going to Canada, Jay, is that when I get to the border, when I'm flying and I show my passport, my American passport, but it indicates that I'm born in Canada, ask a bunch of questions, and then it finishes with welcome home. I love that.
That's good. Yeah. That's good because I am an American living in Canada. And nobody says that when I get to Logan Airport in Boston.
I had it when I crossed through Buffalo the last time. Felt good. Yeah,
that's good. Well, We'll see how it goes. We haven't crossed the border in over a year, so I'll let you know how it goes when we do.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, thanks. Larry, last time we talked, which I think might have been April or May 2020, at an event we did with you online, talking about some of the trends that COVID had caused or you were seeing as it relates to telehealth and telemedicine and HelloMD's offerings. Talk a little bit about that, and then I want to get into actually something that crossed our plate recently with a Canadian company you're working with.
Sure. God, I hope it hasn't been since that long since we last talked. But
well, we've talked since then, but yes. I mean, like,
I cannot confirm or deny that you're correct. But you know, at that time, if we're talking about April, May of 2020, I think that telehealth was going through this just explosion of demand out of absolute necessity. You know, telehealth, what's interesting about it, it's been available and pervasively available for many, many years actually, but has been slow to become mainstream just because people are used to seeing their practitioner in a certain way. And it kind of was second fiddle. People thought of it as, well, that's not really seeing a practitioner. But you know, thanks to the shift in our lives from the virus, but at the same time, thankfully, since there were so many providers who are already up and running like us, you know, the collision between those two actually went quite well, in the sense that everybody had to suddenly move to telehealth, but telehealth was actually ready to scale for it. It had been dying for that growth, including us. And so that period, the scale up was unlike anything that I've ever experienced. And then since then, I think we have slowly just seen that it is, you know, what people expect. That's just how they go to the practitioner. I can't speak for non-cannabis particularly, but in the medical cannabis community now, we don't really meet so many people anymore who are kind of, you know, fumbling their way into a telehealth appointment or concerned about it. It's the way that people are seeing practitioners. It's the way they talk to each other about that. So I think that, you know, we can confidently say that it's now very, very much here to stay. It's allowed people to understand just how easy and convenient it is, you know, for when they need to see a healthcare practitioner.
Yeah. And I guess with that sort of shift, like, are there associated, I guess, demographic, like, are different people sort of accessing medical cannabis through HelloMD?
So, you know, look, millennials, for millennials, this is like a dream come true, that this is how I have to do it, because I always wanted to do it this way. And now that it's more pervasively available, they can choose between providers for this. I think we're seeing more of them. I think we're seeing in that group, we're definitely seeing an increase. Part of that group might be leveraging the medical stream during this period for a couple of reasons. Certainly a high percentage of people in that group are experiencing symptoms directly related to the pandemic, for which anecdotally cannabis has become highly spoken of. So I think part of that demand growth from that group is because of that. Part of it might be that it's in some regions of Canada, it's harder to get into a store. But at the same time, I believe we're going to see some of those folks just stick into medical because they've reacclimatized or reconnected with it and understood that it has a value add for them. Probably the most formidable growth in a demographic we've seen is in the 60 plus. And I think there's two drivers there. One is the 60 plus was the group that was never going to easily pivot to telehealth. Partially just maybe technology is intimidating for a subsegment of them, but just because for so many years, it's ingrained in them how they see a practitioner. They were forced to, and now they have recognized that this is the way that I, for many things at least, that I want to see a practitioner. And then I think we're also just seeing this natural growth pattern that had already started, which is we see in the US, we see in Canada, which is that the 60 plus community is very, very, very quickly adopting the use of medical cannabis, but want to do so, through a trusted source, want to do so with advice, want to do so in somewhat of a controlled environment. And so hopping on with a practitioner in telehealth and making an order post that is really a great experience for them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting to sort of unpack those trends, both from a sort of accessing medical cannabis, staying with medical cannabis, thinking about how people just writ large are doing more things online that they were never doing before. One of the things that crossed our desk and why we wanted to connect with you is we saw you now have a partnership with Zios. And I want to talk about what that means for patients accessing medical cannabis through that company and how they sort of utilize HelloMD in that realm.
Yeah, I'm glad that you reached out. I'm super excited about this relationship because, right now in cannabis, certainly in North America, rightfully so, there's more visibility, there's more discussion, there's more capital into the adult side of the market. And I think we're going through this period where that is going to be the case. Medical is going to continue to hold its own and grow underneath, but then we're going to find a period where, the two of them are going to start to not intersect, obviously, from a revenue standpoint, but people are going to rediscover that the medical stream is a very valuable stream. And I think the reason that that's going to happen is because people are going to discover that they want advice, they need more help, they want to make sure they're using it correctly. We already see this today, by the way, and I'll come back to Zios in a moment, is that we see a lot of patients coming to us who have tried cannabis through another channel, whether that be adult use or worse, illegal markets, and they've just said, like, I don't think I'm doing it right because it's not working. So I think that's going to happen. So the reason that I'm really excited about working with Zios and I really like what they're doing is they're a group that are really, really dedicated to the medical stream. That is what they're about. That is the history of the team that is leading their organization. And they are just, it's as they position themselves as a life sciences company. They don't have aspirations that I know of for the rec business. So they're a company that can really help to bring medical up as we move forward, along with some other companies, and continue to demonstrate that it can be a really, really valuable set of products for people who are trying to address pain, anxiety, and sleep issues. And so, this group is very committed to investing in clinical trials and into research. You can see, by the way, just in the product selection that they initially brought to market, that they really understand, their audience, and that they really understand that they're delivering this, as a medical set of products. One in particular, they have a product that is 1 to 21 part THC, 20 part CBD. Even in the US market, you don't see that formulation a lot because it's not interesting to the larger subset. But for the subset that is really new to cannabis, really trying to find a solution, that combination of just a small amount of activating THC and a large amount of CBD has proven anecdotally very successful. And so by that being one of their first, couple of products, it tells you that they understand, who they're serving and how to serve them. So we're looking forward to working with them.
Yeah, it's interesting because that type of product, which has resonance with the demographic you're talking about, and certainly the seriousness of purpose that Zios goes about it. In the States, they would try to remove the THC because the CBD you could sell, right, in regular, well, depending on where you are, in regular channels. Here, you have to sell either through the medical program or through the recreational program, and the recreational program, there probably isn't a lot of value for that exact product, but the medical side, there most certainly is. So it is interesting, and we've had conversations with Zios as well on BFC Live, and exactly that's what we came away with, was the seriousness of purpose and really the laser-like focus on the medical components. Yeah. And so what do you see, like, projecting ahead to a normal state, right? We this week alone in Ontario, but certainly in Toronto where I live, the stores are now reopened, right? Or in some capacity reopen, and delivery is now actually becoming more challenging than it was because there's now stores open. We've seen over the past year, actual medical cannabis, the levels in Canada have actually leveled off and increased somewhat during COVID. More people are accessing medical cannabis through telehealth and that trend as well. Like, I wonder, when you project ahead, which of these trends do you think is going to stick and which one may not stick? Or is it something where actually it's not about trend sticking, this is the new paradigm in which we're operating in? Are you a paradigm shift believer?
I'm not well, more broadly speaking, I believe that there are some shifts that, as people like to say, we did 10 years in 1 year type thing in terms of some shifts. And I think, for instance, the general working remotely and the acceleration in acquiring things online or using services online that replace in-person experiences, I believe those have accelerated and will continue to accelerate, but I don't think they're going away. So I'm not one of these people who think that people are not going back to the office. I think instead we're going back to the office, but with a hybrid approach where we can be comfortable that if someone's going to work 2 days a week from home, that's actually going to be, 2 + 2 = 5. Yes. As it relates to the cannabis business in the Canadian market, as stores reopen, look, I think that there's going to be a lot of, curiosity to go into some of these stores that people didn't have an opportunity to, as many of them, if we're talking about Ontario, were opening at the time of the beginning of the pandemic. At the same time, I think we're learning that, it's about what is the overall experience, right? So the overall experience, yes, the store and the beauty, and I've seen a lot of the ones in Toronto and in the US, they're great places to be inside of. But how much advice can I get inside of them? And, I talked to someone the other day who works inside of a store and was looking actually for a job to move over to the medical side. And I asked why, and they said, because I'm not really allowed to say anything. Right. And I love to help people, find the right solutions. I love to educate people, but in the store, it's made very, very clear to me that if somebody wants to talk to me about their sleep problems or their migraines or what have you, there's big guardrails keeping me from going there. And so, one, there's the advice experience, which clearly, if delivered in the right packaging, much in the way that we are doing so with Zios, is going to be better over medical, just because you're going to talk to a practitioner who's met with thousands of patients, has all sorts of anecdotal information, and they don't feel constrained in any way. And then two, there's this delivery issue, which is more of a consumer issue. And it doesn't seem like in, the larger markets in Canada, delivery is going to be turned on anytime soon. I think it will get there, and it should get there. But I know a lot of US markets. I'm living in Colorado. We have the most mature cannabis program in the world, and we are only piloting delivery this year. So it's just one of these things regulators have trouble with. And so that's the other piece of the experience is I want to be able to get advice. Then I want to be able to just have it delivered because I deliver everything to my house. And so I think when companies like us and Zios work together, if we put our strengths together in a puzzle as well as we can and make it simple for that patient to get advice and then transition with that advice to shop and get something delivered overnight or 2 days or later, whatever it may be, we have an opportunity to have two markets that can grow nicely next to each other, the rec and the medical market.
Well, Larry Lisser, from that endpoint, I think is a good one. We look forward to connect with you down the road. As always, it's always nice to see you, even if it's in this type of distance. Thank you for being with us here on BFC Live, and we look forward to connecting with you down the road.
Okay, talk to you soon.
Great, thanks, Larry.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on BFC Live today. We're able to do what we do thanks to our ongoing partners, including Cannabis at Work, Cannabis Benchmarks, Can Delta, Headset, Gallagher, and Torque & Main.